In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, which does look a whole lot warmer than originally anticipated. And really, I've been calling for this for the past few weeks. If you guys have been keeping up with the videos, I've always thought that it would be a little bit warmer than what everybody was kind of thinking and what the models were thinking. And sure enough, we're kind of seeing that come through here. This is the 2nd through the 6th. This is our 6 to 10 day outlook. And we do see cooler temperatures overall along that west coast. Warmer, especially along the central states here, a lot of the Midwest and plains, but also stretching into the Ohio Valley, southeast here, near normal for the mid-Atlantic, and then a little bit below normal for the northeast here, but overall a much warmer look than what we were originally seeing. The precipitation looks to be on the increase for a lot of areas of the United States. I mean, almost the entire United States covered in above normal precipitation here. Crazy stuff. We do expect severe weather to take place across this portion of the nation. I'm really watching the first week of March for these areas, and that could trickle into the deep south and southeast, so we'll be watching that closely throughout the video. 8 to 14 day outlook, it moves even further eastward with this warmth. Again, negative PNA here over the west, colder temperatures. This almost instantly causes warmth to move into the east. I got I got one comment yesterday about how the PNA doesn't control the weather. And of course it doesn't control the weather, but it is, in my opinion, probably the top teleconnection outside of the ENSO. And that makes it the top short-range teleconnection that's fluctuating a lot throughout the months and weeks and stuff. It almost always is going to reflect what happens in the east. The PNA is basically just what's happening in the west of North America, and it causes a lot of things to happen in the central and eastern states 9 times out of 10, maybe even more than that. And this year has been especially, well, I should say the past 12 months have been mostly dictated by the PNA. It's been highly PNA driven, so it's a huge teleconnection to pay attention to, and that's why we put a lot of emphasis on it. And we see it in action here. Cold along the west instantly really throws the warm air into the central and eastern states. This is the 4th through the 10th. And when we look at the precipitation, still highly above normal for the entire eastern United States, the entire western United States, and really to find anything below normal or near normal, you're going to have to move to the central states, especially the south central, but really a wet look for the lower 48 overall over the next few weeks. Looking back at the past 20 days, we have continued to see a cooling trend in here. We really look like we saw a cold February overall for most of the eastern states and especially the central states here, as you can see. The only problem is we're seeing a big warm up that's going to last a few days, so I suspect that the warmth is going to push back a little bit once we're looking back at the final temperature anomalies for February overall. Let's take a look at our European model. I want to just move through this, and as we're looking at this evening, the main things we have going on is a well offshore storm that we've been tracking for a while. It started out in the Western Gulf. It kind of just moved over Florida, and now it's offshore of the eastern United States. Well offshore. Not really bringing any impacts to the eastern seaboard. Matter of fact, it's actually beautiful here in Virginia today. It's near 70, perfectly sunny. Just stunning weather for late February. And the northern United States is really where you're going to find a lot of our storminess, although there's nothing major. The northern jet is really driving the storms at this point. We have a low here, and we do have precipitation over the west. Some of this is coming in the form of snowfall, especially this northwest corridor, but really, again, none of it is major. So let's just move towards tomorrow, Wednesday on the 26th. We do see a low nearby Chicago, and this is bringing some showers, maybe even thunderstorms for areas of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, or Ohio, maybe even Pennsylvania. But again, still not a significant system there. And by Thursday afternoon, what we see is that this does begin to bring some snowfall to northern New England. States like New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine seeing some moderate to heavy snowfall in spots from this one. And also thunderstorms and showers kind of dragging along underneath, as this low does have a pretty substantial cold front moving through these areas. So we will be watching for a slim chance of thunderstorms for Thursday the 27th in some of these areas. The Storm Prediction Center has already issued general thunderstorm risk for these areas, so it's definitely going to be a possibility for Thursday the 27th. And like I said, cold front dragging through, we do see another shot of Arctic air moving in. The theme for this entire video actually on these models is going to be long-lived warm-ups followed by short-lived cooldowns, and we're going to kind of go through fluctuating like that throughout the entire both of these model runs. So keep that in mind as we move through. I want to take us towards Friday afternoon, and already we can see that Arctic blast has kind of come and gone. We've seen the warmth start to push it back a little bit. I like what the storm or the National Weather Service has issued for the 6 to 10 day outlook and 8 to 14 day outlook with the cold in these areas, because even when we get the warmth moving up, the boundary between the cold and warmth is going to block these areas out, and they're mostly going to see colder air despite the rest of the eastern states seeing warmth. We do see a hefty Clipper system moving down into the Great Lakes. 988 here over the upper peninsula of Michigan. Moderate to heavy snowfall for a lot of these areas as well. Very, very significant. Also, I forgot to mention this in the beginning of the video, so I'm just going to mention it now. It's a little random, but I am working really, really hard on the vlog right now. So be sure to subscribe to the Ashton Blue, my vlog channel. It's going to be on the top right corner of your screen, description, and pinned comment down below, as we have a massive vlog coming out in the coming days where I received 12.5 inches of snowfall in one storm. We also did some gardening. We saw numerous almost thunderstorms. We didn't capture any thunderstorms, but they were very heavy showers that could have easily been thunderstorms. And we did some normal life stuff. It's going to be a pretty good one. So be sure to check out that channel, as I'm going to be vlogging at least once a month throughout the year. That's my New Year's resolution. Let's keep going with this, though. We do have this heavy snowfall near Canada and for the Great Lakes, and this does move into the Northeast, as you can see by the time we're reaching Saturday morning, March 1st. New York, New England seeing some snowfall, but this low is right near the Canadian border here, as you can see. So we mostly see higher elevations and interior snowfall for the Northeast, with rainfall more for the coast because that low is so northern. As we keep going towards Sunday afternoon, this will be March 2nd. Again, another very short-lived kind of Arctic blast. We do see this ridge here for the Rockies and some of the plains. And then we have a pretty massive Arctic blast that moves down, but it's so short-lived. Very cold air for maybe 24 to 48 hours. And then we move right back into a warmer pattern after this point. We do see storm system moving down into California, Nevada. We're seeing rainfall in the obvious areas, snowfall in those obvious areas like the mountains. So some much needed precipitation down there. It's been a La Nina, so they've had a quieter winter overall for the most part. 988 here over Colorado, though, which is very interesting. I suspect we're going to see severe weather and thunderstorms come out of this system pretty quickly. We do see again, Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska there for the 2nd into the 3rd. Some thunderstorms. We really get going here, though, for March 4th. 996 here over Kansas. A little bit of colder air behind it now. And we're building back a ridge over the central and eastern states by this Tuesday, the 4th time frame. And what we're seeing as a result of this system is some thunderstorms and severe weather already flaring up overnight Monday into Tuesday for Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana. Let's keep going just a couple of hours, though, towards the afternoon, and everything just explodes. We have our low here over Oklahoma, thunderstorms and severe weather for, again, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and maybe even Mississippi. Missouri, Mississippi always get tied up there for some reason. As we keep going, I want to take us towards Wednesday, because Wednesday, this threat kind of moves past the deep south, where likely overnight there will be some severe weather and thunderstorm risk. And we kind of key in on these mid-Atlantic and southeast areas for the thunderstorm and severe weather threat. Again, Wednesday evening, March 5th. And this is coming as a result of a very strong low, which is now over Michigan, 983, very intense. And we're seeing some snowfall for Illinois, Wisconsin, the upper peninsula of Michigan there. But the biggest story is going to be this severe weather, as this could be actually a severe weather outbreak. It could vary from just a multi-day kind of, light to moderate severe weather risk, or we could be moving up into a multi-day, again, outbreak where we're seeing enhanced or moderate risks in there for numerous days. So time will tell what this kind of shapes up to be, but I think the thunderstorm and severe weather threat is going to be there regardless. So we're going to be watching that kind of 3rd, 4th, 5th time frame very, very closely. As we move a little closer towards the evening, this is 7 p.m. on Wednesday, we see again the heaviest of these kind of showers, thunderstorms, and severe weather are going to be located along the East Coast or very close to it here, all the way from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, southward to Florida. As we keep going, overnight, we see these thunderstorms move offshore. By the time we're reaching very early on Thursday morning, we get another blast of very cold air, and we get snowfall behind this system and to the north of it. It's a 976 now over eastern Canada. That is a very intense storm. One of our more intense winter storms we've probably seen all winter in North America overall, as far as just how intense that low is. We return to the storminess for the southwest. We're getting snowfall throughout portions of the Rockies and Sierra Nevada, rainfall in more lower elevation areas by Thursday the 6th. And then as we reach towards Friday the 7th, this is when things get just absolutely crazy, in my opinion. And take this with a grain of salt. We're right about 10 to 11 days out from this. But we get this low skirting across the south, and this really, really wants to be another southern snowstorm. It's very close. We have the cold air clearly around right here, the low moving through. So the ingredients are there. We don't see it really pan out, but it definitely has the potential. We see some snowfall in the northern extent. It's pretty light though for Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma there between Friday and Saturday. And then right around this time, this is 7 a.m. on Saturday, March 8th, and we have this low near Florida. Snowfall for Tennessee, North Carolina, northern Georgia, northern South Carolina. But by the time we reach the high temperatures, it all kind of switches over to rainfall. So if it just looks a little cooler, I mean, we would be watching again these areas in here. At this point, I am so ready for spring. I'm so much more excited about thunderstorms and snowfall. I would rather this just doesn't happen whatsoever. So time will tell what happens. I definitely, if I'm biased, it's against this happening at this point. So we shall see. But this model desperately wants this to happen. It's so close. If it was just a little bit colder in here, you'd be seeing a snow system again for these same areas. But once again, it is beyond 10 days out, so we will take it with a grain of salt. This gives way to a very intense Arctic blast here, where we have this massive ridge in the west. And as a result of that massive ridge, we have a massive trough in the east here with Arctic air diving to the deep south even. Very, very cold. As we move towards Monday the 10th here, we see that's already moving out, and by the 11th, it fully moves out, and we actually have warmth returned to all of these areas with colder temperatures over the west again, even snowfall. So you can tell this is just revolving really quickly. It's like a massive cool down and then a really quick rebound back with the warmth is the theme here. And as we're reaching towards Wednesday the 12th, again, extremely far out, but it is interesting to note, again, the warmer pattern. And once again, it looks like we want to get a plains major low pressure system going. And this would likely, again, be a severe weather risk and thunderstorm risk in here, and probably stretch towards the east again after maybe by Thursday the 13th. So if the trend is for these types of lows to continue and the ups and downs in the temperatures, we might not just be seeing one or two thunderstorm and severe weather risks. It might be numerous throughout this early March timeframe, which I know there's been major severe weather in March before. It's one of the main severe weather months, but it is one that is hit or miss. Sometimes we see a much more winter-like March, and in those ones, it's often a lot quieter. But in this back and forth, we might cash in on the top potential for severe weather throughout the month of March. It's really, really something to watch closely. Obviously, some of it being overnight events, it's definitely looking like it could be dangerous. Something to watch very closely. GFS model. We're actually getting a surprising amount of disagreement here. I feel like for weeks we've seen the European model and GFS model, at least for the most part, agree within the 7 to 10 day range. Anything before that, but we are just right out the gate just seeing complete disagreement on these two models today. So I hate when this happens. It really, I just really prefer when this doesn't happen. So we get that first system to come through, and at least they agree on that one. That's in 2 days for the Great Lakes and Northeast. The low moves semi close to the same places. This major clipper that moves down into the Great Lakes there and then the Northeast is a little further south and a whole lot snowier for the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. So this model is definitely more bullish with that one. And this is kind of where the disagreement begins, days 3 and 4. And we're really not going to see much in the way of agreement whatsoever. We get this system across the deeper kind of South Plains into the deep South here. And it brings some thunderstorms and showers threats, but it's nothing crazy. That moves into the southeast, and we don't really see much come from it. I'm just like looking for the system that we have on the European model again about 5 or 6 days out, and you're just not really seeing it here. I mean, there's no low or severe weather risk that looks even remotely the same as what the European model showed. As a matter of fact, we get this low moving through Tennessee and Kentucky, and it wants to bring a major snowstorm to the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, where the European model has basically nothing for this time frame for these areas. And again, yeah, like we see northern Pennsylvania, New York, into southern New England, and even northern New England, seeing a massive snow event between Thursday and Friday, the 6th and 7th. And that one moves out. We get the cold, and then we get another clipper system that moves through the plains, Midwest, Ohio Valley, into the Mid-Atlantic here around the 9th, 10th. And then we get another kind of across the nation storm for the 10th, 11th, into the 12th there for some of the Northeast. So more snowfall and really limited severe weather risks, which is just weird. The funny thing is the storms look so different on this model run, but for the most part, we really see the same temperature pattern. We get the long warm-ups followed by a quick but intense cool down. Everything temperature-wise looks the same. It's just the storms don't match up right. And I mean, even just looking at the screen right now as I'm talking, I'm like, okay, wait, 999, 994, 984, 987, 998, 1004, 999. What is going on here? I've never seen like this much low pressure all over the place on a model like this. So I don't know if there's something flawed with this 12Z GFS model run or what's going on. If any of you know, let me know, but this looks drastically different than the European model, which is weird. It's so different that it's odd. And then this frame in particular, it's like, what is going on right here? Very interesting. And problems with these model runs do happen sometimes. So you might be thinking like, what is he talking about? But sometimes we just get a model run and there's just something weird about it, and the whole model run is just off. So I don't know. Regardless, let's take a look at the total precipitation on the European model, which did not appear to be flawed whatsoever. And we do see a good amount of precipitation in the west, although it's weird. We've seen they were kind of surging the precipitation a lot and showing a lot more out west. This looks decreased to me from what we'd been seeing a couple days ago. The east does look increased for sure, with really good amounts basically everywhere east of the Mississippi. But even a little bit to the west of it from Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas there. As we take a look at the anomalies, again, the west, a little bit above normal in the southwest, but pretty below normal. In the east even, you know, we should be seeing more. There is some above normal areas in here, but there's also some below normal areas. So we're pretty neutral as far as if you're just kind of taking this entire area as a whole, but pretty interesting regardless. Total snowfall on the European model, pretty snowy out west still. These northern areas, a little less with the less precipitation overall. We also see quite a bit for these kind of typical areas like the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, areas in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. Then we get this pocket here from that, again, weird snowstorm that it wants to drag underneath. So we do get a bit of snowfall in these areas. Take it with a grain of salt. This is one that I wouldn't be surprised if it's just gone tomorrow. But it is interesting to see this model wanting to show something like that. Looking at the GFS model, we definitely get a lot more to the north. Even for the kind of mountainous west, there's a lot more in the Cascades and Rockies there. A lot more for the northern plains, upper Midwest, Great Lakes, Mid-Atlantic, especially here in Ohio Valley. And then the Northeast, a lot more. So again, pretty big disagreement is continuing. Here's the kind of temperature pattern. Again, we're going to be warmer for a couple of days here for a lot of areas. I mean, this is 26, 27, 28, 20, or the 1st, better yet. And finally on March 1st, it looks like we get a cool down here in the east. It lasts into the 2nd. But here comes the 4th, 5th, 6th. Much warmer in the east. And then we get another cool down for the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. 11th, and then another big warm up here towards the end for the 11th, 12th, 13th, and maybe even beyond. The GFS model is going to look pretty similar, you know, warm for a few days here, cools down for the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, big warm up for the 4th, 5th, 6th, and then the 7th, 8th, 9th looking a little cooler. The warmth comes back around the 11th, 12th, 13th. So again, a little different when we're looking at those two different temperature models, but it really is the same premise. Warm until about the 1st of March, cold until about the 4th, and then we warm back up, and then we cool back down. The timing is almost perfect as well. So I just don't know how we have this similar of a temperature outlook from these two models, and somehow they have a completely different kind of storm pattern. Really odd stuff. With all that being said, be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.